right at an hour. Okay, and we're off to the races. Good afternoon, students. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the end of our fourth week. Whew, wow, 4 weeks of summer workshops. And today we are talking all things financial aid related, FAFSA related, and more. So we're going to get into that in a second. You've probably heard me mention this. I'm going to spend 2 seconds talking about this, I promise. We do have a new incentive. The incentive is, we're moving over to the screen, boom. An AMC theater, tickets for two tickets, I'm sorry. You can get 2 tickets for the Space Jam, Black Widow, or just give you 2 tickets, watch what you'd like. But you know, we know that Space Jam is becoming a very popular topic right now. I'm getting a little bit of glare, I apologize. So it's kind of popular. So hopefully you guys are interested in those movies. But what you need to do is attend 2 of our workshops between now and July 29th. So I think I've seen a few of your names here so far. So if this is your second one, between, when did we start this? I forget when we started. I think it was July 14th. Don't quote me on that. But it actually was before that, up till July 29th. So if this is your second one, congratulations. You have next week and up until the 29th to attend a second workshop, and congratulations. You are now eligible to receive 2 of these tickets. Seats are limited, tickets are limited, but we'll get that out to you as soon as possible. So just continue showing up and make sure to share this information with your friends. The more we have, the merrier. All right, let's jump into today's topic. I'm going to share my screen. Give me a second. I have multiple screens up. Here we go. That's the one I want to show. All right. And for those of you who were with us before, you're probably going to hear some of the same information, but a reminder is not a bad thing. And as a matter of fact, it just kind of reinforces that what you've learned. So let me share my screen. I do this every time, and I should be quite used to this by now. Oh, and by the way, if this is your first time joining us, please let us know in the chat. If this is your first B2L workshop, first time joining Bridge to Life, just put that in the chat. Let us know who you are. And I always ask for a name, school, grade level, anything that you'd like to share. All right, so I'm sharing my screen. Everyone should see my screen. Okay. Let's go full screen here. All right, so we're gonna cover financial aid and more. Again, I'm gonna focus more so on the FSAID process and things of that nature. So let's start with this, the types of scholarships. So you have institutional awards, and that's excuse me, getting a phone call, oops, institutional awards. And those are a need or merit-based award provided by a college or university. And I'll go into detail later. We have FAFSA, which I'm going to talk about next. And then we have private awards. Those are awards funded by companies, service groups, foundations, organizations, and individuals. But today we're going to start with the FAFSA application. And the first thing, before you complete your FAFSA application, the first thing you need to do is complete what's called the FSA ID. If you are moving into your senior year, meaning come August, you're going to be a senior, well, congratulations, you have time now to complete your FSA ID. You won't be able to complete the FAFSA application until October 1st. That's when the new application starts for our high school seniors. So you have between now and October 1st to create your FSA ID. And then come October 1st, you can start working on your FAFSA application. When it comes to the FSA ID, you have to create one, and your parent or guardian has to create one. And you'll see me, I'm going to talk about this in a second. You can't create one for them, and vice versa. They can't create one for you. The 2 of you have to create yours individually. And it's a fairly simple process. And I'm going to show you something I want you to take a picture of later on. And this kind of explains exactly step-by-step what the process is. So first, let's get started with a video on the FSA, regarding the FSA. Actually, oh, you know what, here, let's start with this. So this comes from the Federal Student Aid Office. This is their website. Anytime you see studentaid.gov, anytime you see gov, that's our government website, so it's credible, right? It's real. And this site basically walks you through, how do I create an FSA ID username and password? Now, I'm going to leave this up for a while, so I want everyone here to take a picture of it, to take a picture of these steps. And I mean, literally, this is the process. But why is the FSA ID important aside from, having to create one? In order to complete the FAFSA application, you have to sign the FAFSA using your FSA ID. If you don't have an FSA ID, then there's no way for you to complete the FAFSA application. There's no way for you to sign it, and your parent or guardian also, there's no way for them to sign it. So that's why each of you need to create an FSA ID. All right, so if you don't already have an FSA ID, you can create one. The FSA process consists of these main steps, and I'm gonna quickly go through each one. So access the create account page, which I'll show you in a second. Provide a username, enter your email address, unique password, just like you're logging into an account or setting up an account. Then you'll also need your name, date of birth, and keywords right here, social security number. You need your social security number. If you or your parent or guardian, maybe you're going through a citizenship process, make sure to check in with your local social security office to see how long it's going to take before you get issued an SSN, a social security number. Check in with that office first if you don't have one yet, or if you're not sure, always consult your parent. All right. The next thing they're going to need is your mailing address, your select language, and then some other information, which I'll show you during the video. Once you're done, you'll confirm and verify the information, agree to the terms, and then you'll receive either a verification via email or phone as well, okay? I think someone has their mic unmuted. I'm gonna mute you. Cool, all right, there we go. All right, so take a picture of this, take a screenshot. I'll give you another 10 seconds or so. You can find all of this information at studentaid.gov/help-center. So it gives you a list of questions, frequently asked questions that you can review. And then also over the side here to the right, you see it has, what if I forgot my FSA ID password? What types of federal student loans are available? When will I receive my financial aid? When can I use the new account and username? How do I view my student aid report, my SAR? All right, so there's a lot of information here. And I'm going to give you some other helpful resources, but I'll just give you 2 more seconds to take a picture of this. Again, it's just kind of a step-by-step of what you need to do, okay? And if you need me to go back to the screen, I can. All right, 1, 2, moving on. All right, so there are a few steps in creating the, not the FAFSA, the FSA ID. We're gonna play this video, and I'll pause in between some of these points to kind of explain what you're seeing, give you an opportunity to take a picture of it. But again, this is something that seniors can do. If you are an upcoming senior, meaning in August, you'll be a high school senior, this is something you can do between now and October 1st before the FAFSA application becomes available. All right, so just knock this step out of the way now. And make sure you write this information down somewhere, save it on your phone, save it in your desktop, email it to yourself once you're done creating your username and password, because you don't want to lose that stuff. I mean, you're going to get a confirmation email and everything, but I just take it to the next level, write it down, save it, place it somewhere. So I'm going to play this video. And again, I'll pause in between kind of explaining certain stages and pages of the video. Here we go. All right, and I'm going to stop right here. So your FSA ID is your personal legal signature. Again, you use that signature to sign the FAFSA application. The first bullet point says, don't create an FSA ID for anyone else. Well, I already mentioned that. You and only you should create and use your FSA ID. Those 2 points kind of mean the same thing. Parents should not create an FSA ID for their child, and vice versa. Doing so may cause issues with your child's financial aid. So in other words, they don't want to get the 2 of you mixed up. So case in point, create your own FSA ID and do the same for your parents should do the same. Now, the 2 of you can sit down and walk through it together. You walk through yours, and then you give your mom or dad the laptop and let them do theirs. All right, let's continue. All right, so this is the first page of the FSA ID. This is essentially where you create your login information for the FSA ID account. All right, so once you complete this, you're not done with the FSA ID. This is just creating your login information in order to use their account. So just like anything else, email, username, password, confirm your password. so once you've created your username and password for the FSAID account, then it brings you to the first page, which is personal identification information. And as you can see, there's a little bar chart here that walks you through your progress. So this is the first page. It's all personal demographic information. So first name, last name, and the video will show the rest. All right, and here's your profile information. Again, this is enter the additional information to complete your profile. So now you're creating your FSAID profile. All right, so now we're on the challenge question page. So this page is basically creating security questions. These questions ensure that no one else can access the information aside from the person who knows the answers to these questions, that person being you. So the first two questions come with predetermined, pre-written, there we go, questions that you select and that you provide an answer to. The next two questions are questions that you create on your own. So it could be something like, you know, what's your favorite color, favorite restaurant? Who's your favorite local college access network? Oh, did someone say Bridge to Life? Thank you, great. So here, let's watch the video, here we go. All right, now at this point in time, you're reviewing your information. Here's where a lot of people go wrong. They don't take the time to review carefully what they've listed. I mean, you know, in my case, I know my social security number by heart, but I still take time to review it, recite it several times just to make sure I entered it correctly. Same thing goes for the email address. You don't want to put somebody else's email address there and then it sends to them and not you. And that's happened quite a bit. I've worked with some families and they said, well, I put my email address, and then we look at the email address and it's one letter off, or instead of Gmail, it's Gmail. So just make sure to review your information carefully. All right, so now what they're going to do is verify your mobile number. So they'll send you a secure code. They'll also ask you if you want to do this via email. Again, this is just to verify that you provided the correct contact information. And that, my friends, is the FSAID process. It is the easiest process when it comes to completing your FAFSA, or at least starting your FAFSA application. And it's the first thing you have to do. So make sure between now and October 1st that you and your parent or guardian sit down and knock that step out. Where do you go in order to complete the FAFSA application, in order to complete the FSAID? You go to fsaid.ed.gov. Oops, fsaid.ed.gov. And I'm putting that in the chat now. All right, fsaid.ed.gov. Perfect. That's where you go to start the FSAID or complete your FSAID. All right, so again, you, mom, dad, parent, guardian, whomever, try to knock that out as soon as you can. It really doesn't take that long to do. And then again, save your information somewhere, archive it somewhere, please. Okay, now let's jump into the FAFSA process. Free application for federal student aid. You've probably heard me mention some of these, but I'm going to spend some additional time on work study. These are ways of saving you money before you go to college and even when you're in college. All right, so the FAFSA application, once you've created your FSAID, now it's time to complete the FAFSA, which we know opens on October 1st of this year. The FAFSA application, I promise you, is not as daunting as it seems, as it comes across, as it appears, if you just simply read line by line exactly what's required in each field on each page of the FAFSA application. Okay, it's going to ask for a lot of personal information, lots of demographic information. It's going to ask about your parents' income, taxes, and the number of siblings in the house. Just a lot of personal information, right? Once you've entered all of that stuff, then at the end, you'll sign it, complete it. As soon as you complete your FAFSA application, you will receive a FAFSA confirmation page, and I'll come back to that in a second. But that confirmation page is going to let you know if you're eligible to receive a grant, and if so, how much, a Pell Grant. Student loans, which by the way, everyone's basically eligible for student loans, I'm just saying. And then if you're also eligible for a work study position. All right, so let's start with work study. As a matter of fact, I've mentioned this a few times. Here's where I'm going to make this more of a conversation. Who on the line, especially if you've been here before, who can explain to your peers, which of you can explain to your peers what a work study position is? And you can unmute. I would prefer that you unmute. You can put it in the chat, but I prefer that you unmute to explain what a work study position is. What's a work study student? Let's see, will anyone step up to the plate? Anyone, let's see. Okay, Tony, go for it.
It's basically a position that you get at your institution. You can work to help pay off some of your fees.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. So it's a position that is funded by the government, and it's in addition to the Pell Grant or loan that you receive from the government. So think of it this way. If you're Pell eligible, right? If you complete your FAFSA application and it says you are eligible to receive a Pell Grant to the amount of $5,000. Well, that $5,000 is going to go towards your tuition. It's going to go towards some fees and books and other things. But then if you're eligible to work as a work study, you get a second pool of money. And that pool is dedicated or designated to your work study job. All right, so what do you do as a work study? Well, essentially, you're working for the college that you attend. So if you go to Broward College, you'd be working in one of our departments, whether it's admissions, financial aid, it could be for a particular program, business pathway, or it could be recruitment. So I'll give you an example. I hired last year about 25 work study students who made phone calls, outreach, who created social media posts. They did all kinds of fun things in the recruitment department. When we're in person, sometimes our work studies are the ones that handle all of the inventory, the giveaways. So they prepare our carts, our crates before we leave in the morning. You know, they come back and they reorganize our inventory closet. Tons of things. Oh, hang on, I'm getting some feedback. There we go. There's tons of things that our work study students do. They get paid $10 an hour here at Broward College, and that's really the going rate here in the state of Florida, $10 an hour, and you can work up to 25 hours a week. Now, it's up to you how you manage your schedule. Most departments will allow students to work the maximum number of hours, 25 hours. I do. Heck, make your $250 a week, go for it. And like Tony said, you can use that money. It's given directly to you. You can use that money to pay back loans, to help go towards your tuition, go to food, whatever you want to put that $250 a week towards, you spend it how you need to. It's your money. You earn it, you deserve it, use it. All right, so that's the work study position. Where do you find work study positions? Does anyone know where you can find a work study position? Or Tony, would you happen to have an idea of where you can find a work study position? If you're at Tron University, where would you find work study positions at Tron University? Go for it, Tony.
I would say you'd have to contact like the head of admissions or some kind of person that's in like a staff member of the university so that you can become informed. Also, probably on the website of the institution, emailing people, stuff like that.
So there's 3 areas, and Tony, you touched on 2 of them. Our website, the college website. You go to the job board, and sometimes you'll find work study positions posted within the college's job board. There are certain colleges that have a work study job board just totally dedicated to work study students. And they'll put that in your college orientation email or your college orientation document. And it'll say, if you're work study, go to this link to find jobs for work study positions. In other cases, a department such as the recruitment department, every semester, we receive a list of work study students, eligible work study students. And what we do is, instead of posting something on the web, we just email our job to everyone that's on that list. So 1 year example, I think we had about 2,500 eligible work study students, new incoming freshmen eligible work study students. And we just sent everyone an email. We said, hey, here's a work study position. It's available. Here's the work that you're going to do. If you're interested, reply back. You know, the first 20 people who reply get the job, or not get the job, but the first 20 people who reply, we'll set up an interview with. And that's what we did. So there's really 3 different ways: college-wide job board, work study job board, and or a department will send out a notification directly. But word of mouth also helps too. If you're talking to a dean, if you have a good relationship with a professor, maybe they know someone who's hiring for a work study position or looking for a work study student. All right. So that's work study. Again, you don't have the option of working as a work study student if you don't complete the FAFSA. That's why that FAFSA application is so doggone important. All right. Moving over, scholarships. So at the top left, now FAFSA doesn't offer scholarships per se, but there are some scholarships that are need-based, merit-based, and the only way they can determine the need is based on your FAFSA application. Because again, you're going to provide the government with key information about your personal finances, your parents' personal finances, or your parents' finances, and that's what's going to determine whether or not you're need-based. If you don't complete the FAFSA, some of those scholarships you won't be able to apply for, right? And this applies to seniors. Now, if you're a freshman, if you're a sophomore, if you're a junior, and you run across a scholarship that requires a FAFSA application, well, you got to use your logic and you got to skip that scholarship because it doesn't apply to you. You're not at the age or at the point where you're filling out the FAFSA, so you skip those scholarships. But for our seniors, absolutely, come October 1st, once you've completed your FAFSA, now you can start applying for scholarships. At that point, you can start applying for scholarships that require a FAFSA application, all right? And then the other 2 awards are grants and loans. And I ask this question all the time, and I'll pause here for a second. Can anyone, not name Tony, thank you, Tony, but can anyone tell me the difference between a grant and a loan? Can anyone tell me the difference between a grant and a loan? And I think some of you, yes, go for it, Christina.
So a loan is something that you have to pay back, but a grant is something that you receive to go towards whatever you need it to go towards, and you don't have to pay the money back.
Christina, is this your first time in our workshops?
No, this is my 3rd or 4th.
And you've been to this workshop before?
Yes.
Awesome, Christina. That means students are retaining the information. All right, way to go, trying to do a good job. Christina, you're absolutely correct. A loan is something you have to pay back plus interest, and that goes for anything. A car loan, personal loan, home loan, there's always interest attached to it. So if I loan Christina $100, I'm probably going to charge her 10% interest. That means I get $10 back plus 100. So that's how the banks make their money, right? So we want to avoid loans at all costs. That's why we push students constantly to complete the FAFSA, but also to look for scholarships, apply to scholarships, and take advantage of other ways of saving money. All right, so that's a loan, but then the grant is totally separate. So if someone's granting you money, someone's giving you a Pell Grant, that is free money that initially you don't have to pay back. The government is saying, hey, we've determined that you need some extra assistance, financial assistance, in order to pay your way through school. So here is our Pell Grant. And they give you that Pell Grant money. The amount all depends on your family income, family finances. There's a lot that goes into it. to determine how much you're going to get, the number of siblings that your parents have to financially account for. So you get the Pell Grant. Initially, you don't have to pay it back. Why am I saying initially? Well, if you fail your classes, right? If you fail all your classes, you're on academic probation. The college puts you on academic probation. And by the way, academic probation is basically a period or an opportunity for you to, it's like an alert, like, hey, you're falling below a 3.0, you're falling below a 2.5. Okay, you need to fix this. If not, you're going to flunk out, and then you have to pay back everything that the government's giving you. All right, so if you don't get yourself out of academic probation, if you end up continuing to fail those classes, then all that grant money that the government's giving you, then you have to pay it back. And I tell students all the time, do not let your GPA fall below a 3.0. Keep it above the 3.0 at all costs. And if you want to set a goal of a 3.5, that's great. 4.0, hey, even better. But keep your GPA as high as you can. If you feel that you need help in a class, do not hesitate to contact your college's tutoring center. For those of you that may be interested in going to Broward College, we have something called the Academic Success Center. That's where our tutors lie. So you can go to there and get some assistance. Wherever you are, even if you're in school, even for those that you're in school now, never hesitate to get tutoring, all right? There's no way I would have passed my math course in college if I didn't have tutoring 2 to 3 days out of the week for 2 hours a session, all right? So don't hesitate. All right, let's move on to the next thing, financial aid myths. I'm gonna start from the bottom left and work my way up to the top right, all right? So the bottom left, the first one says, your parents are not supporting you financially in college, so you don't have to include their information on the FAFSA. This is a myth. Even if your parents aren't supporting you financially, you still have to put their information on the FAFSA application because you are dependent. You're dependent on your parents. So the government needs to know what kind of financial status your parents have and who they're taking care of in order to determine how much money you need for school. Okay, so that is a myth. Your parents need to sign the FAFSA, especially if you are dependent on a parent. All right, you only need the second one. Second myth, you only need to complete the FAFSA once. So I know a few of you have been on here for a couple of our sessions, and I'm just gonna stop here. Is that true? Do you only need to complete the FAFSA once? Let's see if anyone can answer that. Let's see if anyone can answer. Okay, Tony already put the answer in chat. No, you need to complete the FAFSA more than once. The first time you complete the FAFSA as a senior this coming year, that's great. You need to update your FAFSA every year, especially if you're using financial aid to pay your way through school, okay? So no, you don't complete it once and you're done. You have to renew it. You have to update it every year, all right? I don't know why I stopped sharing my screen. Let's go back. Okay, the third point, you need to have your taxes filed before starting the FAFSA. Well, what happens if you never had a job? Then you don't have any taxes to file. So when it comes to students, if you haven't worked, then obviously this doesn't apply to you, so that's a myth. And when it comes to your parents, you do not have to have your current year taxes filed. So let me give an example. For those of you who are graduates, class of 21, this past year, your parents had to submit their 2019 taxes because the year started in 2020. It started of August of 2020, right? That's when the application became available in October of 2020. So we needed the year prior taxes. So anytime you're completing the FAFSA, yes, your parents must have the year prior taxes completed because the FAFSA application is going to ask about the taxes. They need the tax information in order to complete it. But you don't have to have the current year taxes done. So for those of you who are seniors that have graduated, class of 21, your parents do not need to have their 21 year taxes completed. That goes back to 2019 because it's the year prior, okay? All right, moving our way up, the FAFSA is difficult to complete. Well, we know that's a myth because I said earlier, as long as you read line by line, you can get through the FAFSA application. Also, under each line on the FAFSA page or on each page of the FAFSA application, there are random various help buttons everywhere. If you click that help button, it'll explain further what that field is referring to. So if the field's talking about taxes, right, you click a help button right next to the tax question, and it'll give you a little bit more detail into what they're looking for. Also, if you need help completing the FAFSA application, there's a phone number you can call. I'm going to put that number in the chat right now, 1-800-433-8255. 3243. All right, that is the Federal Student Aid Hotline. You call that number. Once you hear the voice prompt, just simply press 0. Excuse me, I'm typing in all caps. Press 0 3 times in order to speak to a live phone rep. All right, so call that number. It'll start giving you a voice prompt. Now you can sit there and go through the voice prompt. I just press 0 3 times and I'm able to speak to a live rep. And that rep will help you walk through the FAFSA application. They'll answer other questions, you name it. All right, so there is always assistance for the FAFSA application. And then the last bullet point, or the last myth at the top right, you won't receive financial aid because of how much your parents earn. Well, that is also a myth because there's so much more that goes into calculating your financial aid award. Again, I mentioned it earlier, the number of siblings that your parents support, the number of investments that they have, whether they own a house or whether they own property, loans. There's so much else that goes into the calculation of your FAFSA. So it's not just based on how much your parents earn. There are other things that are involved in that, okay? All right, do we have any questions about the FSA ID or the FAFSA application? I wanna pause for a second and share with you a link for those that may need help filling out the FAFSA if the 1-800 number isn't enough, if reading the help, if the help options on the FAFSA application isn't enough. I'm going to give you guys a link to Broward College's FAFSA lab, which is held every Friday between now and August 6th. You can sign up for the FAFSA lab and receive assistance between 2:30 to 4 p.m. on Friday. So I'm going to drop that in the chat right about now. And this needs to go to all panelists and attendees. There we go. So for those of you seniors, those of you who have graduated or current seniors, if you need help with the FAFSA, or actually if you're a current senior, you have to wait till October 1st. So if you've graduated and you need help with the FAFSA, then you can sign up for our FAFSA lab, okay? All right, I don't see any questions, so I'm gonna move right along with the presentation. Give me a second here, perfect. All right, and then this is just something else, and I do this every Friday. I ask that students take a picture of the screen or take a screenshot, and it just kind of spells out who your parent is, because a lot of kids get confused. You know, we have different scenarios here. Students who may end up living with an uncle, aunt, whomever. So just take a picture of this, and you can always find this information at our Federal Student Aid website. All right, so just FAFSA Common Challenges. That's what you want to look up, and make sure that it has the Federal Student Aid logo on it. So take a picture, take a screenshot. I'll give you 3 more seconds. Again, I think many of you have been to this presentation before, which is great. I'm glad you came back. Happy to see you. And then here we go, the FAFSA confirmation. All right, so let's pay close attention to this because a lot of students get confused, parents get confused, and I'll say, well, did you complete the FAFSA application? Yeah, I completed it, okay. Well, then you should know if you're eligible for a Pell Grant. No, they haven't said anything yet. When do I know? And I say, as soon as you submitted your FAFSA application. So as soon as you click sign, as soon as you sign your FAFSA and your parent signs the FAFSA, a few seconds later or a few minutes later, you receive what's called the FAFSA confirmation email. And there's a couple of things that it talks about up top, but let's start at the first arrow, the top arrow. Here it says estimated expected family contribution, or EFC for short. All right. And this number essentially says here, it tells you right here, the EFC is a measure of how much you can contribute to the cost of your education. Schools use the EFC to determine your federal student aid eligibility. So in this case, the government feels like this person can only contribute $1,000 to their education. Well, we know it costs more than $1,000 annually to go to school. So the government's got to kick in some money. All right. So the EFC is not how much aid you'll receive or how much you have to pay for college, right? It's how much the government feels you can contribute. So you see a low EFC, if you see all zeros, chances are the government says, well, you can't contribute anything, or your parents can't contribute anything. So we're going to help you out tremendously. That help comes in the form of a Pell Grant. And as you can see here, if we go 1 arrow, 2, 3, 4 arrows, the second arrow from the bottom, it says Pell Grant estimate. So this gives you an idea of how much money the government's going to give you in the form of a Pell Grant. Now you'll notice that number is very specific. Well, the government's not just going to throw numbers around. They're going to give you specific information. So once you see this, chances are that's the amount of money you're going to get. It's definitely not going to increase. And then it also gives you the number of your loan, your estimated loan amount. Below that, the last arrow says you may be eligible to receive other federal, state, or institutional grants, scholarships, and/or, there goes that keyword, work study. So this is your confirmation page. And once again, I tell students, take a picture of it, save it somewhere. I mean, it's always going to be in your email, but just nice to have this page elsewhere. Okay. So that's the FAFSA process. Hopefully that makes some sense. What are some other ways that we can save money? We've covered a lot of these, but I know we have some new faces on tonight. So I'll spend a little bit of time talking about dual enrollment and encouraging each of you, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, soon to be 12th graders, to sign up for dual enrollment. So what is dual enrollment? Dual enrollment is an accelerated program that allows secondary students to take post-secondary coursework, both in high school, and earn college credits. The key thing about dual enrollment is it is free. Doesn't cost you anything but a little bit of time, all right? And time is the only thing we can't get back. So before I move on throughout the PowerPoint, is there anyone here who has taken a dual enrollment course? Anyone who's taken dual enrollment, you can just say yes in the chat if you've taken a dual enrollment course. Okay, I got one yes from Tony, Victoria. Who else? Who else is taking dual enrollment courses? Yeah. Kayla, yes, I'm taking it this fall. There we go, Kayla. I think you mentioned that to me. Awesome, awesome. That's great news. Anybody else? Anyone else taking dual enrollment course? Kayla, did you unmute? Thought you unmuted for a second there. Okay. All right, so I have 3. So Tony, do me a favor. I think you've mentioned this before, but can you just kind of walk us through the process? What did it take to sign up for dual enrollment? And then talk about the experience in dual enrollment. So what was your process for signing up? And then what was the experience like taking those dual enrollment courses, if you don't mind, Tony?
Yeah, no problem. So for me, I took it with BC actually. And it wasn't a harsh I guess strenuous process. It was pretty easy. I reached out to my guidance counselor. I had to get the test scores. So either the PERT or the AccuPlacer. I think that the PERT isn't available anymore. So probably taking the AccuPlacer, meeting those scores, signing up for the classes, and then eventually your guidance counselor will have to accept basically and approve those courses. And then after that, you basically just have to register. And as for like the actual process with the classes, I've taken them all online and they've all been pretty good. I've had awesome professors. And basically my classes have been easy. Most of them have been electives. So yeah, they were pretty easy and they're awesome to take just because you're getting that college experience kind of, especially at a younger age if you start taking it as a freshman in high school. Also, I took ENT 1101 and that was at my school, but my teacher, he was a professor working for BC. So that's also another option. And he was an awesome professor and I love that class. So yeah, I recommend it.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. Thank you so much. I'll come back to you in a second. Victoria, if you don't mind, if you're able to unmute or if you feel like unmuting, I hope you don't. I've heard you before. Victoria, what was your experience like in dual enrollment?
Well, for me, I've taken 2 classes so far, and then I'm taking English at my school. So that's another option for dual enrollment. You can take it at your school as well, like a class. But it's been pretty easy. Like, it's good to get the college experience. I've taken 2 classes online and like they're pretty easy. Also, a thing that helps if you want to do dual enrollment, for picking professors, you can use Rate My Professor, so you get like really good ones. So I've used that, and the ones I've gotten are like understanding and like update you, and they're really good. I've gotten good grades in those classes. So I would recommend it to anybody if you want to take dual enrollment.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Victoria. So you've heard from your peers. They're signed up for dual enrollment. They recommend that you take it. I mean, why not? It's free college level courses. And I believe if you're here, if you're a part of Bridge to Life, You're probably thinking about college at some point, once you graduate from high school. So why not get that out the way? Why not just knock out ENC 1101, which is basically English, college level English? Why not knock out MAT 1023 or 1050? That's college level math. Just get that out the way now so you don't have to worry about it. And take it now so you don't have to pay for it. Who wants to pay for ENC 1101? I don't. Well, I've already taken it, so it doesn't matter. But take dual enrollment courses now. If you're a freshman, you heard Tony mention it, and Victoria, start as a freshman. You won't be able to start your first semester because you need to establish your GPA, number one, and I'll get into requirements next. But also you need some time to take your tests, take some exams, in order to apply for apply for dual enrollment and fill out the dual enrollment recommendation form. But you can start maybe in the spring semester of your freshman year, so in January, and then moving forward to your sophomore year, junior year, et cetera. There was a time, once upon a time, a few years ago, where students who started in their freshman year had the chance, of earning their associate's degree. Well, since then, the government's kind of cut back, or the state rather has cut back on the number of courses you can take in dual enrollment. So I think now you can earn up to maybe 33 credits worth of classes, maybe 40 credits. In order to earn your associates, you need 60 credits, right? And the associates is half of a bachelor's degree. So another 60 gives you a bachelor's. But still, if you're going to college, you know your focus, you know where you want to go, knock out some of these courses in dual enrollment. Victoria and Tony have already said it's not that difficult. It's a great experience. So let's sign up for it. My question to you is this, and I'm going to go back to the chat. How many of you want to take dual enrollment courses next year? How many of you are at least interested in signing up for dual enrollment courses? Just put that in the chat. Yes, I'm interested, or I'm interested. Just want to get a feel for how many folks are actually interested in signing up for dual enrollment. Let's see if this segment has had any kind of effect on you at all. Okay. All right. Tony says, I'm taking it again. Okay, great. All right. Okay. Mandy says, yes, I'm interested. Awesome, Mandy. Okay, who else? Who else? Okay, Alyssa, yes, I'm interested. Okay, great. Deep, yes, I'm taking it in the summer. Awesome, Deep, awesome. Victoria says, yep, I'm taking it again too. Sequoia says, I'm interested. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? I'd really like everyone in this room to say that they're at least interested in signing up. Kayla, of course, Kayla's interested. Awesome, Kayla. All right, so I think I got about half the room, so I'm feeling pretty good. All right, so with that in mind, I'm not going to skip the dual enrollment slides. I'm actually going to give you guys some more information about dual enrollment, and I'll just jump right to the meat of it. Take a picture of this. If you said you're interested, here's the information that you need to know. Eligibility requirements, initial eligibility. You need a minimum unweighted high school GPA of 3.0. All right, so we know the difference between unweighted and weighted, I think, but weighted includes all of your electives, your honors credits and all that stuff. Unweighted is just the core classes, your English, math, science. So what they want to see is your unweighted high school GPA, and typically the unweighted is lower than the weighted. Unweighted stops at 4.0, weighted I think goes to 5.2, don't quote me. And then college level test scores in English, reading, and math. You achieve those through the ACT exam, SAT exam, or PERT, which is known as the college placement exam. You can take the PERT exam at Broward College. I know some of your schools offer it if they have a proctor there, but you can always sign up at Broward College to take the PERT exam. So you have to take one of those 3 exams, or you can take all of them if you want. And then, permission from a parent, school counselor, and principal. And I'll get into that a little bit more in a second. I hope I'll give you guys a chance to take a picture of this. You can also go to Broward College Dual Enrollment or BCPS, your Broward County Public School Dual Enrollment website. They have the same information there. All right, cool. Placement testing. So this gives you an idea of the test scores. I don't think anything's changed since this was out. We got this information last year. So I'll do another look, but I think last time I checked, everything is still accurate. So take a picture of this. We won't go into the scores. No need to talk about that, but just take a picture, take a screenshot. I'll give you guys another 3 seconds to do that. 3, 2, and a 1. Dual enrollment versus early admissions. This is kind of another conversation, but we're focusing on dual enrollment. Again, it limits you to 11 credits per term. You can take it in any grade. It's not required to enroll in consecutive terms, meaning if you sign up for the summer, you can forego fall and sign up for spring. And then you take courses at college while you're still attending high school. All right. Dual enrollment courses will transfer to any Florida public college or university. They do count towards the beginning of your college transcripts and may not be repeated while still enrolled in the dual enrollment program. That includes withdrawals. So think before you withdraw. Talk to your guidance counselor, talk to your dual enrollment professor. And then again, dual enrollment is free. The application and tuition fees are waived. And Colleen shared a report with me recently from our Florida College Access Network. It looks like some additional funding has gone towards dual enrollment. So maybe some of these credits increase. Maybe we'll be able to take more courses next year. I don't know, but I do see that some money went towards dual enrollment. So that's good news. All right. How do you get started? Step number one, you meet with your guidance counselor. I think Victoria mentioned that. They'll go over your eligibility requirements. Step number two, you have to apply to BC online. And there's other places you can take dual enrollment, and I'll show you in a second. Step number three, you take the PERT exam or ACT or SAT. Step four, you work with your guidance counselor to complete the selection course. And like Victoria said, they'll show you what courses you need to take. They'll consult with you on that. And then you submit the dual enrollment recommendation form to your school counselor before the deadline. And each school has different dual enrollment deadline dates. All right, so you need to make sure that if you don't remember anything, remember dual enrollment, guidance counselor. Remember those three words. Talk to your guidance counselor about dual enrollment because they'll be able to share those dates with you. So go to your guidance counselor, get the dual enrollment recommendation form, take the test, sign the form, parent signs the form, send it back to the counselor, principal signs, you're good. Okay. Dual enrollment, let's see here, guidelines by grade. We're not going to go into all of this. I just want to focus on the first bullet point, the top sentence. Students may take a total of 2 dual enrollment courses per semester, one of which may be at BC, FAU, UF, or any combination of those schools. And this says 2, but again, it's 11 credits max, so you can actually take a little bit more than 2, but it gives you the option of 2. All right, but you can take those at BC, FAU, UF. I think FIU also offers dual enrollment classes, okay? And then just take a picture of this. This regards our testing center at Broward College for those of you that may want to take dual enrollment at BC. But again, FAU, FIU, UF, they also offer dual enrollment. And that depends on the contract that your high school has with the college. So Broward College is basically at all of the public schools. Dual enrollment is offered at all the public schools through Broward College. Some private schools are contracted, some aren't. But again, it all depends on the school. Same thing goes for FAU, FIU. You won't find FAU, FIU, or UF at all the public high schools, but they are offered at quite a few of them. So again, guidance counselor. All right, I'll give you 3 seconds to take a picture of this screen, and then we're gonna zoom through some scholarship stuff because I think you guys have heard scholarships enough. I hope so. If not, I can spend more time. Hey, I'm here. I've already blocked the time out. All right, I gotta take that slide out. All right, now we're talking scholarships. You've probably seen this before if you're here, but I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. A lot of money goes unclaimed every year in scholarships. I mean, literally billions of dollars go unclaimed in scholarship money. My question to you is this: what are you gonna do about that? What are you doing now? For those of you who have been here a few Fridays and you've seen this presentation, you've heard me talk, you've gone to Shedley Cassius's presentation, the scholarship plug, you've heard it from your brace advisors. What are you doing differently about your scholarships? So I want to know, I want to hear from those of you who are on the line tonight. If you choose to accept this mission, I want to hear from you tonight. How many of you have completed scholarships since we started talking about it over the summer? How many of you have completed scholarships? How many of you have started writing your essays? How many scholarships have you applied for? I'm giving you any number of questions to answer, by the way. Anyone have any scholarships that they can mention to us, that they can suggest? Any scholarships that you recently earned? Okay, Mandy says, I have started before. Awesome. Victoria says, me. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to do this in order. Mandy, if you don't mind. Oh, you started before this presentation. There we go, Mandy. Mandy, if you don't mind, unmute yourself. Let's talk a little bit, and then I'll get back to the slide and I'll give you guys some more information. But let's talk just a second. I'm sure your peers want to hear this too. Mandy, would you mind unmuting? You don't have to if you don't want to, but I'm asking that you unmute if you can. Let's see, is Mandy unmuting? Am I putting Mandy on the spot? Is Mandy you can't unmute, that's not a problem. Okay, so Mandy, do me a favor. I just want you to tell me the number of scholarships you've applied for and maybe name the type of scholarship you applied for. Put that in the chat if you don't mind. Okay, and I see Victoria and Tony have some information to share. And I see Kayla says, I did some research on the scholarships that was stated before. Awesome, Kayla. So Tony, I'm gonna bring the mic back over to you. You're my co-host this evening, Tony, you and Victoria. So Tony, let's share some information. What do you have for your peers?
Yeah, so I recommend like applying to as many as possible. Going to Miss Casillas' website, she actually has a 100 scholarship challenge. And the more you apply to, the more likely you are to get that scholarship. I'm sure you guys have heard this, but honestly, it's surprising because at first, and still I sometimes get discouraged because there's so many applicants, but I've recently won one. So you never know, how much, how many
Wait a minute,
scholarships
Tony. You recently won a scholarship?
Yes.
How recent is this? How recent is this?
This summer.
Now, was it before you started joining the B2L workshops or was it during the B2L workshops?
It was, I think, after one of my first B2L workshops and one of my meetings with Ms. Casillas.
Would you mind telling us the name of the scholarship and what it took for you to apply? In other words, did it require an essay? Did it require a picture? Like, what were the requirements?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll put the scholarship in the chat, but it was from the Lindsey Vonn Foundation. And basically it was for me to go through a summer enrichment program. So it basically allowed me to take this SAT prep course. I would have had to pay like $1,200 out of pocket, but they gave me the scholarship and they paid for it. So I'm taking this course for free. You can even get more money than that. And it doesn't just have to be for SAT prep. It can be for basically any enrichment program that you want to go through this year. And yeah, I also signed up for a course at USF for this summer. And I'm gonna put the information in the chat for the juniors and sophomores and stuff. But I also won a scholarship from them. And it allowed me to take a dual enrollment class, like we were just talking about, for basically at a discounted price. So yeah.
Tony, we thank you tremendously. We appreciate you sharing that information. Sequoia wants to know the website of the first scholarship that you mentioned. So I know you said you're going to put that in the chat. So just hang on 1 second. Scholarships are coming from your peers. And then let's see, Victoria says, yes, Tony, what was the website with the list of 100 scholarships? Okay, so Tony's going to put that in the chat. Thank you guys for asking. Kayla, and congratulations, Tony. I'm sorry, let me start. I should have started by saying that. Congratulations on earning the scholarships. Guys, this is proof that it works. If you put the time into applying for scholarships, yes, it's a numbers game. Yes, it's going to take time out of your day, but it works and it's for your future, guys. This is a part of you building that bridge to the next phase of your life through scholarships, right? Through resources, through workshops, by networking, etc. I can spend so much time going on and on. But it works if you just put in the time. And I'm not saying that you aren't. I'm just saying that there's also more time. Really quick, I forget who it was. Someone once asked the question, what's the difference between Oprah Winfrey and you? Right, well, they posed the question to me. And I said, well, billions of dollars. And they're like, yeah, well, aside from the money, oh no, the question wasn't what's the difference. The question was, what's one thing that you and Oprah have in common? That's the question. What's one thing that you and Oprah have in common? And I'm going to ask you guys this question. Let's see if anyone can get the answer. What's one thing that you and Oprah, you and Bill Gates, Melinda Gates, what's one thing that you and any billionaire has in common? Can anyone guess the answer? I kind of gave it away a few minutes ago. But there's one thing we all share in common. It's one thing we all share in common. Can anyone guess the answer? Colleen Lockwood, you hit the nail on the head. We all have the same number of hours in a day, 24 hours. Some of us choose to use our time differently. So just keep that in mind when you're applying to these scholarships, all right? Okay, Kayla, I'm so glad that you said you could unmute. I know you're going to talk about, or I know you're going to apply to some scholarships. So just be prepared. I may call you in shortly to talk about that. But let me get back to the PowerPoint that I had on the screen. And Tony, thank you so much. It looks like your peers are benefiting from your information. This is great. I told you I didn't want to do too much talking today. I wanted to get you guys involved in some of this conversation. All right, I do like to talk about this though, institutional aid. Make sure to catch this. Institutional grants, such as Broward Futures, not Bright Futures, but Broward Futures. This is something that Broward College offers. And oftentimes when students receive a scholarship or an institutional award or an institutional grant from a college or university, they think to themselves, oh, I just got $20,000 from Tron University. You kind of got $20,000, but it's really in the form of a discount. So let's just read this description. The reduction in the sticker price is called discounting. When the money comes from the institution versus an outside source like a Pell Grant, it's called institutional aid. And these discounts are typically grants and scholarships, which you don't have to pay back. So here's how it works. If you come to Tron University to earn your bachelor's degree, right? It's a 4-year degree, essentially. Each year is going to cost you about $10,000. So that means that degree is going to come out to $40,000, all right, for a bachelor's degree. Tron University is expensive, yes. What Tron University does is it offers you an institutional award. It says for you meeting our admissions requirements and being a stellar student, we're going to give you $10,000 as an institutional award. So all I'm going to do as the university is take that $10,000, and each year I'm going to apply a certain number of dollars to your tuition. I'm going to discount you a certain number of dollars each year on your tuition. So I'll spread that $10,000 across your entire tuition. So $2,500 the first year, $2,500 the second year, $2,500 the third year, to discount you $2,500 the fourth year, right? So one thing to keep in mind, why do I bring that up? I just want to make sure that students know if a college is giving you $20,000, 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, it is them reducing the amount of your tuition, reducing the cost of your tuition, right? Discounting your tuition. It's not money that they're giving. However, there are other places that can give you money. And Tony's already putting some stuff in the chat. Victoria's putting some stuff in the chat. And I want other students on here. I'm going to pause in a minute to ask other students to list scholarship databases in the chat. And I have a few new ones that I'm going to list as well. But if we can, let's take a minute to look at a video that I have queued up. And some of you have seen this video before, but I like this video because it speaks home. It speaks, it's right here. It's in our backyard. This happened in our backyard. So check this out, guys, and just give me a minute of this video.
Today at Miami Central High School, it was academic signing day.
And among those in the spotlight were twins from Nigeria. CBS 4's Carly Barnett has their story.
I feel like today is a day for me to be grateful and also to thank those people who have made me, come this far.
It's academic signing day at Miami Central High School, a day to recognize seniors who have been accepted to college on some serious scholarships.
I watch the news, I watch about people who get scholarships, and I can never believe I would get this far too. So it was just, an inspiration to me and a driving force to always pursue my dreams.
Twins, Khalida and Khalid Gawan, are among those recognized.
We moved to Nigeria when I was a little kid, and I spent most of my years in Nigeria. And then I came here at age 14. First, when I came, it was a little bit hard to assimilate because I wasn't used to the culture and everything.
And they're only 16 years old. They both want to enter the healthcare industry. Khalid wants to be a pharmacist, and Khalida an OBGYN. Khalid and his 4.0 average earned him more than $360,000 in scholarships, and his sister's 4.4 average more than $1 million.
So these two combined have earned over $1 million in scholarship money. Now, I'm sure some of that money is institutional aid, like we talked about, it's the college or the university discounting their tuition. But some of those other scholarships are scholarships that they found on CADEX, Unigo. We here in Broward County have Naviance, and I think the Miami has Florida Shines. I could be wrong, but they have a different database. But nevertheless, so there are other scholarships that you can earn through databases that are nationwide databases. Now, usually I go into this whole thing about finding scholarships by brand name and whatnot. That's cool, but I want to give you an opportunity before we end to tell us about scholarships that you're aware of. Just so you know, You can find this online. It's created by scholarshipexperts.com, and it gives you scholarships by category. So different types, demographics, men, women, scholarships if you're a minority, scholarships by scholarships by major, computer science, law, health, whatever, sports scholarships, and then scholarship experts. Like I Have a Dream, they have their own scholarship scholarships that they offer. So you can go to scholarships.com and sign up here for some of their scholarships. But let me stop for a second because I see the chat is just going crazy. And let's see here. What scholarships do you guys know about? Tony is just filling up the chat here. All right, so we see, okay, great. Apply to this. Awesome. Awesome. All right, so I just want you guys to make sure that you have an idea of scholarships that are available to you. Think outside the box when it comes to these scholarships. I just want to make sure to give you guys, hopefully you walked away with enough information. Here's some good information. If you didn't, I'll be back here next Friday and we can talk more, and I promise we'll have a little bit more of a conversation piece. But thank you, Tony. Thank you, Victoria. And thank you, Kayla and Mandy, for offering your pieces of information. Guys, have a wonderful Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.